prevalent wisdom calls for moderation in all things, especially food, whether it's coming from your family, from your friends, or even from fitness influencers. I've seen this quite a lot. The idea is that if you go for a harsh, uncompromising approach to a diet, you'll either get sick of it and end up binging, or you'll go way too hard and then you'll eventually bounce back and eat a whole bunch of food. And so you should be moderate. You shouldn't cut out the foods that you really, really enjoy. You should allow yourself a little bit here, maybe a little bit there. In my own experience with obesity and, well, a food addiction, and from looking at others who I've talked to about this, who I've helped with this, I found it to be catastrophic to give this kind of advice, to have moderation. The reason for it being, it's a food addiction. It's not just eating a little bit too much here or there. It's an addiction, and you have to treat it like that. So I'd ask you, if a friend of yours, or maybe someone in your family, had an alcohol addiction, if they were an alcoholic, would you tell them, hey, look, I know you're trying to kick alcohol right now, but if you don't have a little bit of alcohol, maybe once a week, maybe once a day, just a little bit, if you don't do that, you'll be at higher risk of falling back into alcoholism. That's completely crazy. You'd never tell them that. You'd try and help them as much as possible. You'd get rid of all of the alcohol in the house, and you try and help them be on the straight and narrow. And the thing is that food is an addiction. It runs on exactly the same dopaminergic reward system pathways in the brain that cocaine and sex use. So, or really any other chemical drug, essentially. So, what does this kind of lead us to? Well, I started kind of looking at what I ate and cutting it down a bit, maybe about 5 years ago. And since then, I've had relapses. I've put on anywhere between 5 and 15 kilos of fat in a short period of time, so maybe like a couple of months. And something that I've noticed for myself and for others is that every single time this has happened, it's been during a period of moderation. So I'll give you some examples. I'll have had some cereal that I like, and I'll maybe allow myself, hey, do you know what, you're doing really, really well at the gym with your food. Let's maybe have a little treat every now and again. So I'll allow myself maybe a bowl of cereal. But one bowl of cereal will then gradually turn into more, and it'll turn into 6 invariably. Let's say I had a bad day, or I was, really, really busy, didn't have time to cook anything, and I get home tired and I eat a bowl of cereal, and then I eat another one, and then another one, and that's how it might turn out. For others it might look different. It might be, someone they live with to eat stuff around them, and the rule for them is you're allowed it in moderation. Well, what if that kind of slips a little bit? What if they have a stressful week? What if, so many what ifs, and because they allow this food in, it becomes a lot easier for them to then eat a lot more of it, because there isn't a hard line. So the way I see it is like, let's say you've got a wall and you've got a little crack in it. That's the moderation, that you're allowed a little bit of this food. Well, if you then start applying pressure to the wall, the crack might grow, and then eventually the wall bursts and everything comes falling out, and that's that. So what I have found is, especially when you're new to this, to eating healthily, to restricting calories, don't mess with moderation. Be uncompromising and say, look, I'm going to eat healthily, and obviously the foods you pick need to be ones that you do enjoy to some extent, but they shouldn't be unhealthy. I'm talking about the unhealthy stuff, like, let's say you eat oats in the morning. Well, don't have peanut butter and jam in there, because that'll, that's something that you could binge on, for example. Or something that you just enjoy a bit too much. Maybe cut that out for now. Once you're at a point where, after maybe a couple of years or so, you've done it for a while, and your willpower, your ability to sort of stick to what you say has grown, then you might want to give it a go. But until that point, I think it's unwise, especially if it's the first time, to try to mess with moderation, because it just won't go well. If you don't have a problem with food, so let's say you just want to lose some weight, but you've never really had a problem with it, you're maybe 5 kilos overweight, I don't think there's a case to say that you should be uncompromising because you haven't had a food addiction before, so why would it suddenly start? Have your moderation and just see how it goes. But this is specifically for people who've got, problems with obesity and eating too much. I really don't think moderation is a good idea, and that's why you shouldn't do it, especially the first time.